job. We earned more money for the city of Birmingham, all of their museum venues.
Back to the classroom here.
All that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, I was on it. I hate to say it. So, you know, all the other historians, it's beneath their dignity, but not mine. You know, hey, I'm all right.
That was a good episode.
I think so. Well, we gotta popularize the place. If we make it purely intellectual and academic, we won't have anybody coming out. So you'd be surprised how many folks we have looking for a ghost come out here. Mainly to move around raw materials and move around scrap. Where you're standing right here used to be a scrap pile twice as tall as that viaduct. In the last 20 years of production, they reduced more scrap than they made iron out of the basic components. That's one of the problems. And so by 1971, the EPA was breathing down their necks. The new regulations, it was old and worn out, and so they just simply decided to shut down. Now, it was good for us because, you know, you can go up north and find a lot of Civil War furnaces up in Pennsylvania and New York. You can find furnaces in Pennsylvania and Indiana that were built from 1950 onward. But to find a furnace that represents the technology between 1900 and 1930, they don't exist. They were all torn down and scrapped out and modernized, except right here. He came from Ohio. And Mr. Doble had already retired out of the business, but he couldn't stay away from it. And so he started working with Sloss. By the time he left it, he had over 20 patentable inventions in the process. And what he was doing was something that was not even in the dictionary at the time, recycling. And it was working. Now, he wasn't environmentally conscious. He didn't care about the ecology, but he knew how to make money. And so recycling was part of that whole idea. Now, here's his greatest moment. This is his best process. This was called the Doble process. What he was doing is blowing engine rig. This is where you have your steam power pumps. Now, we're looking right now at actually the newest machinery here. These are Ingersoll Rand turbo compressors that were put in here in 1950. Believe it or not, we still have inquiries from companies who wish to buy these from us. I can hardly imagine putting them back online. Now, imagine being in this building. Underneath this metal floor where you're standing were the huge steam lines that brought in the boiling steam from the boilers. So it's always over 100 degrees in this building. It could get up to 120 in the summer with the windows open. And so it's like working inside a radiator. It's always that hot. Now we have the turbine bonnet open here, where you can see the turbine side of the engine. The steam came up this well, blasted through the vanes of the turbine, and that spins the turbine. And then the turbine is attached by this axle to the compression box, generating your air. These things are running, they're like a blur. And they're also extremely dangerous. Here is good industrial thinking right here. You see this protective screening here? This is put up after the bad accident has already happened. There was a man who used to come and lean right here and eat his lunch every day. And none of this screening behind him. And he thought that that wheel created a great wind draft and cooled him off. But this is entirely too close to stand to it. And so one day, he was sucked into that wheel and swept into the wheel well and crushed. Base of furnace number 1. This big pipe that you see right here brought in the superheated air from the stoves that you pushed into the furnace. This is called the bustle pipe. It's a little bit of 19th century humor. The men thought that that big roll at the bottom of the furnace reminded them of a lady's bustle, a popular style of the 1890s. I think you've spent too long at the furnace, if that's what does it for you.